I'm Shannon Zatola, Executive Director of Admissions at Cabrini College.
So the first question is, do you feel that making disadvantaged students take the test is injustice? Why or why not?
So I don't know if I would call it unjust as opposed to unfair. So I think that some of the situations that have been created in the school districts that are not of higher socioeconomic class, where they have less funds for teachers, the students are not able to afford test prep like students in other districts where scores are notably higher. I think that sets up an issue of inequality regarding the standardized testing of the SATs or ACTs. So I don't know if it's unjust as opposed to really an unfair model.
Right. Do you think that, how do you think the testing process is for like a disadvantaged student? Stressful or?
Absolutely, I think it's stressful. I think that there's, every high school student in America probably realizes the weight that these scores can potentially play in their future. And so that does have to be stressful, especially for students where, again, they don't have access to test prep courses or some of the other things that students who come from a higher socioeconomic class might have. And so I absolutely think it's stressful.
Yeah. Do you believe that colleges should drop the SATs?
I think that it's not a personal decision, but as in, it depends on the institution. So for institutions that have found the SATs to be a strong indicator of success among their prospective students, then it certainly makes sense for them to keep the test. I think that for, most institutions who are not highly selective, like, the Ivy Leagues, it's something to look at given the state of, secondary education in our nation and some of the gaps in the education system. It's important to look at.
Do you believe that Cabrini becoming SAT optional was a good fit?
I do. I really do think it was a good fit. I think for our mission and who we are as a college, it certainly fits, what we're about and what we stand for, without a doubt. The students that, our populations, our territories, the type of students we're recruiting, first generation, very diverse. It makes sense to be able to give students options.
What was your role in Cabrini becoming SAT optional? I know you're very involved.
So, my vice president for enrollment, Bob Reese, I know really prepped the board and the cabinet on the statistics and why we should look at it and what it would mean. So that was, I certainly helped with that decision. But then once the decision was made to go SAT optional, it was left to me to put that in place. And so there's a lot of back end work that has to happen to become SAT optional. Applications have to be changed and communications need to be switched and a lot of things. So that really was my primary role, was once the decision was made, making it happen and putting it into action.
Well, it seems like it worked out well. How long have we been SAT optional?
So we went SAT optional in January of 2015, so mid-cycle last year, which was interesting, going mid-cycle. But I definitely think, this year about 40% of our students, prospective students for fall 16, have applied SAT optional.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think a lot of students are finding value in that, and more institutions across America are becoming SAT optional. I mean, there's well over 800 now.
I saw the list on Fair Test.
Yeah.
The list is crazy.
It is. It's long, and institutions tend to, utilize SAT optional like flexible, like you mentioned, or optional, or fitting it to who they are as an institution. So I think there are ways to make it work for you and also benefit the student, which really the most important part of all of this is to benefit the student.
Right. Do you believe that all colleges should end up SAT optional or no?
I mean, I think that requires a complete shift in the education system because, I'm sure, are you from Pennsylvania?
No, I'm from New Jersey.
You're from Jersey. Well, I'm sure there's standardized tests there given to elementary schools, right?
Yeah, they're called the Terranova tests.
The Terranova. So we're in PSSAs right now. I have two small kids who have just done they're on week 3 of PSSA standardized testing in 3rd grade. Yeah. Starting in 3rd grade and going all the way to 6th.
I think that's what ours is too. It starts 3rd grade, but it goes till 8th.
Right.
Or 7th.
It's a long time of standardized testing. Yeah. So I think for all colleges to go to the movement that we should all be SAT optional requires a shift at the very top, in the department, the National Department of Education System, to determine that there's not a place in our education system for standardized tests. That would be a very difficult thing, to get on board with for a lot of people. So again, I think it's a decision that it really is institution by institution. I think it is worth looking at and worth more data being done, as a whole, for all these colleges that have gone SAT optional. What has been the benefit of the student? How does it affect retention rates and graduation rates and all of those things that we use to benchmark success? And if we're finding that there's no difference in students submitting SAT scores versus those who do, then I think it requires a larger look.
Yeah. Do you have any final comments you want to say?
No, I think it was a great decision for Cabrini. I stand by it, 100%. Talking to students at fairs and recruitment events, you can hear the worry in their voices about, well, what are your average SAT scores? Because I didn't do so well. And then you ask them, well, what is not so well? Oh, I got an 1100. Right. Each student is placing a lot of different strain on themselves. And for one student, that may be a great score, and for another student, they feel like they didn't do well. So
the test is so stressful.
It is very stressful, and it keeps changing. And so I think that it's good to be able to give students that option of you can, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
And so you can see that then they're not quite so stressed. And some students give up on the whole application process because of the stress. So if you remove that barrier, it should bring, the thought is that it will bring more access for more students.
And I know they've redesigned it a few times, and that still doesn't really seem to...
Yeah, we'll see how the last redesign is. It went live in March.
Oh, really? Oh, so my brother was probably taking that. He's a senior in high school right now.
Yep.
In a panic because he doesn't want to send in his scores. So.
Yeah, he should look at some optional schools.
Yeah, he has been. So he wants to do like a trade type of thing. So.
Okay.
But thank you so much.
You're welcome.